Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. We're getting ready for another training. Today is Friday, August 30th. It's funny, I was all prepared to come in and then I got distracted. I'm like, oh, I'll kill some time. So I apologize for that. But I get excited on the topic. We're going to be talking about FPDS today. I did want to start off with just a quick tip for those of you showing up early and on time as a thank you for that. I really appreciate it when you do that. I just want to turn those scrolling bars off. It's exciting when you show up early and on time because then LinkedIn lets other people know that, hey, we're in here, we're in the training. It's funny. I was so prepared that I let myself get distracted. I'm like, oh, I got all this extra time. So give me 1 second. Got to get my phone ready so I can just make sure I'm live and good to go. Okay, so for my tip for you for success, here's what I want you to do is take your capability statement and hopefully you already have it on your LinkedIn profile in like the featured section or your experience section. And I actually might show that in a second really quick. But what I want you to do today or Monday is create a post about your capability statement. And so you'll upload your PDF copy of your capability statement into LinkedIn, in the LinkedIn post. And then in the post text area, just write some sort of summary. Hey, here's what we do. Like I just happened to notice Bill, right? Duncan here. We focus on data management, AI, cybersecurity, DevOps, too many words. I got lost. But Bill, he might put something in like, we help federal agencies do data management, AI, and cybersecurity solutions or something like that. And then you can kind of put some words into the post that relate to exactly what's on your PDF. That's totally okay because some people will read the text of your post. Some people will read your capability statement. And all of Google will search, or Google will search all of that, the text and the PDF. So put it in there because you want to get it out. You should be doing this. I would submit once every month minimum, and it's totally okay to do it every 2 weeks because you could post it. I'm connected with you and I would see it. But then you could post it another day and I just don't see it because I'm either not on LinkedIn or I didn't look at my feed that day. So there's millions of people on LinkedIn. For you to post something as important as your capability statement a little bit more frequently is not a bad thing. LinkedIn will make sure it's getting to different audiences. Here's my my offer to you. If you tag me in there and say, hey, thanks for this tip from Neil or something. If you tag me and you just do it at Neil McDonald, and that's LinkedIn will tag me. If you tag me, I will come back and engage it. I have 32,000 followers. When I engage your content, LinkedIn will go, oh, well, Neil thinks it's important. Let's send it to Neil's connections, right? That's how it works. That's how algorithm and social media works. And so since I got a big network, I'm happy to sit there and share my network with you through a post. Don't tag me on everything, right? Because I just won't respond. But if you tag me on a capability statement and I see that, I will respond and engage. Okay, that was a quick tip for those of you showing up early and on time. Especially, I think the tip is if you tag me, I will engage on your LinkedIn feed and make sure it pushes it out further. Okay, we're going to be talking about how to use FPDS today. I'm going to dive in mostly going in just from a high level. FPDS, Federal Procurement Database System or data system, right? Almost every dollar spent in the federal government is tracked by the government. Obviously, all of it's tracked, but almost all of it's tracked by the government in FPDS. So pretty much everything they bought, whether it's products or services, whether it's janitorial services or services related to going to space, right? All of that is tracked one way or another in FPDS. There's some restrictions on what's visible, but knowing this tool and how to use it effectively is going to be vital to your company's success. You're a government contractor. There are certain tools that you should be an expert, not kind of good at, but you should be an expert at. One is SAM.gov, right? Understanding that. Another is USA Spending, which is basically the front end to FPDS, which is the third one. And then there's a whole bunch of other little tools that are secondaries. But those are your primary tools. You really need to know those tools through and through. And better than almost anybody, that you can talk about the fields, et cetera. If you're trying to sell your products and services to the government, knowing the tools that they use to interact with the industry is going to increase your chances for success. And so the topic of today's training is around following that money using FPDS. And I'm going to have a couple of slides, but then I'm going to dive in. And the bulk of what I'm doing is showing you actually how I do stuff in FPDS. And every time I teach this, I never go back to a set of slides I've used before. I always start again so that I'm talking about what I've been doing in the last 2 to 4 weeks, not what I did 10 years ago, right? I've been a government contractor before, but you don't need my tips from a long time ago. You need me to constantly be giving you tips that I use with current customers, for example. And that's what we're going to cover down in today's training. I'm going to break it up into 4 sections and basically 2, right? What is FPDS and the top data fields in FPDS? And then the other is I'm going to do a show and tell. How do I search for opportunities in FPDS? And then how do I review it? How do I look at all those fields in there and begin to make sense? When you're first looking at something, it feels complex, convoluted, and overwhelming. All of it does. Everything seems that way until you start getting good at it, right? For me to walk into a kitchen, there's certain things I can cook to stay alive, right? But if I looked at, I wanted to start thinking from a chef perspective of creative cooking in the kitchen, I am lost, right? It's complex. Where a person who cooks all the time and loves cooking, they're like, no, this is not complex. Yes, it is. I just haven't learned to be comfortable with. You know what's not complex? Boiling eggs, hard-boiled eggs. I got that nailed. All right, this is what we're going to talk about. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald, president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, co-founder of GovCon in a Box, an AI-powered SaaS platform that we're super excited to be bringing to you. And I'll keep talking more about that later. I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we have repeatable, predictable results. And that's what I want for you. That's why I teach you tactics and skills around, let's say, FPDS, right? And so if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter, Government Contracting Success Newsletter. Come join 18,000 other people just getting a lot of good information about federal sales and understanding your federal customer better. We don't have the training out for next week yet, but we'll do training every single business day, including Monday, by the way. My kids will be playing video games. I'll be right here. Entrepreneurs do not sleep. And the person I'm trying to help you is somebody who basically kind of thinks about your business all the time. So I'll be here with you. Look for the training to be dropping tomorrow. You'll see it. So if you follow me on LinkedIn, give it a thumbs up. Or excuse me, if you follow me on LinkedIn, hit the bell notification so that you hear about the trainings. One last thing, I see people on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook out there coming in and joining us today. That's awesome. Congratulations on finding us and joining us. We'd love to have you come into LinkedIn. In LinkedIn, we can collaborate, we can network with each other. We see each other on such different level. And so you're able to connect with me or follow me. If you connect, make sure you send a message and put it in context. Otherwise, I'll just ignore it. But if you put it in context and you only have 2 followers, I'll still connect with you. I want to help you build your network. But the other is make sure you're connecting with everybody else who's in the chat. This is your time to network with people. I wanted to welcome, and I might be, so I wanted to welcome 2 new members to the 100 Club. The GovCon in a Box platform that we built, one of the features in there is a federal visibility score. And this is the score that tells you, are you visible to federal buyers in their tools? And so we have this algorithm that goes out and checks what you've done already. And we tell you, are you visible or not? And then we tell you what you need to do. I've got text and a little video in there that explain what to get done. And so Momentum Engineering with Michelle and just hit 100 between yesterday and today. Mercy has been working on it all morning. I could have sworn she would have been at it. So I don't know if she's like still at 98 or 100. But Asharli, you got to help me, Mercy, and make sure I pronounce that right. But Asharli Consulting, Mercy, I know if she's not there this second, she will be today. So I'll give her a shout out today as we wrap up the week. But congratulations on entering the 100 Club. These 58 companies are out of 360,000 small businesses. 70% of small businesses are virtually invisible to the federal buyer. Even if you're the best at what you do, if they can't find you, they can't buy from you. And so go into GovCon in a Box, check out what your score is, follow our guidance. That's all free. We want to just help you get visible to the federal buyer. Okay, let's rock and roll on FPDS. And what is the Federal Procurement Data System, or FPDS? Like I mentioned, it's one of the most important tools the government has around government contracting, and you want to become an expert at it. it has almost all contract awards in there. Some things it doesn't have, for example, micro purchase below the simplified act or the micro purchase threshold, those aren't in there. No subcontracting data, or what I like to call helpful data, like any PWS documentation or other things like that. That's not in there. A lot of the stuff that is classified, for example, if you think about DLA buys some fuel and other things like that, that might not be recorded in there because it's sensitive. And then all of the IC, the intelligence community, that type of information, if it's super classified, it's not in there. There are other tools like ARC that you can go in and learn more about that stuff. I like FPDS, and I really encourage you to use it, especially as it relates to today's training around money. I like it for filling the pipeline. When I look at my pipeline, I don't want to go into SAM or into a forecast even sometimes, because they're a little late. But if I look at FPDS, this is not the only way. I'm just talking about this way for the moment. If I look into FPDS, I can find where the government has spent on what I sell. And if they have spent money on what I sell last year or 4 years ago, then there's a good chance they're going to do it again. So if I sell today, we're going to be talking about recruiting services, just as my example. If I use recruiting services, well, they're always recruiting, right? And so if they bought it 5 years ago or 4 years ago, that contract's going to expire. And if I'm trying to fill my pipeline out for 2025, like what sales do I want to land, then I'm looking for things that are expiring in 2025. But a pipeline, a good pipeline, and it takes time for your company to get to the size when you're doing this. But the bigger your company gets, the more mature it gets, the farther out you can go. So you can go 2 years out, 3 years out. I can look at an opportunity I lost today and put it into my pipeline, right? Or an opportunity I didn't see, but I see it today that it was awarded because I saw it in the news or something. I'm like, oh, I wish I had won that. Well, that's going to be recompeted in 5 years. 5 years seems like a long time, but it really is not. And if you find that ideal opportunity, you put it in your pipeline and you just slowly track it. And so FPDS is really good for that, finding those opportunities. And then the last thing, it's great for finding teammates, and I'll show you about that. But if I can find those winners, especially on contracts that still got 3, 4, 5 years left, then those are potential teammates. I might find out who they are, get in and engage with them, maybe build the relationship, see if there's other opportunities to pursue together, and then maybe evolve the relationship to, hey, how can I help you on this one you already won, right? There's nothing wrong with asking for that, but just don't ask right out of the gate. Okay, so that's just a high level what FPDS is. FPDS, you'll see in a second, and let me see. You'll see it in a second, but they have all sorts of training that you could take. This is what I mean when I say become an expert. Go into FPDS, download their documents, take their trainings, just read it. I literally read the FAQs today, and I have read it like 3 months ago when I was doing training before. I'm like, let me just keep looking at it. Let me just keep reminding myself I'm an expert in the industry. It doesn't mean that I know every single thing, right? But it doesn't take you long to become an expert. And you too can become an expert on this tool by just tracking this. Okay, so here's some of the fields or the way I review an opportunity at FPDS. And I'm going to do what I'm putting here. But basically, if I go into FPDS, first thing I'm going to do when I got the results is I'm going to go down to the description and see if it matches my search intent. What I mean is if I search on the word recruiting and I go down to the description and the description says something like staffing and recruiting services, I'm like, bam, that's what I was looking for. But if I go down to recruiting and it says LinkedIn recruiting software subscription or something, I'm like, well, that's not what I was looking for. Now, because I'm creative, I might take that and follow it through to whoever is buying that might also need my services. That's a separate thing. But the description I'm looking for is, does it match my search intent? And then I come up from the description. I'll show you. The description's at the bottom. Then I come up and I look at the PSC and the NAICS code, which are right above it. And mostly I'm just taking note. I'm like, I always want to make sure when I'm searching that I understand the match between the keyword and the NAICS code and the PSC, right? Eventually I'll never be surprised. But if you're doing this in the early times, you'll see 5, 10, 15 different NAICS codes being used for similar terms. And that's totally cool. That's how they buy. And then I come up and I'm looking at the offers received. And ironically, I think I actually might go down. I go down and I look at the offers received. And basically, I'm just trying to see, was this one and done, like a sole source or direct award? Or was there 5? And if there's like 5 people responding or 5 offers, that's what it means. 5 contractors responding. If there's that, I'm like, well, there was competition, and I have a chance to get in there, and that's an opportunity I like, right? Direct awards sometimes are scary because they're so limited, and sometimes you can work on it, and the other person just has it. But if it's open for competition, then it truly is much better to me. I look at the prime contractor. I want to see who's winning it, number 4, and then I want to look at how big it is and how long it is, because this tells me where in my pipeline it's going to go. And also it tells me whether I want to go after it. If I see an opportunity and it's $50 million, then I'm probably not going to go after it. If I'm doing less than, let's say I'm doing less than $5 million, $50 million is that outside threshold. Certainly if I'm doing just a few $1,000,000 in revenue, I'm not looking out there. And it's totally okay with putting maximum limits on the size of opportunities. You really want to grow incrementally from $2 million in revenue to, like, let's say 5 to, let's say 10, right? These reasonable step forward. And if you do service-based business and you're looking at an opportunity, you just want to see that growth step you're looking for from like 2 to 5 million is 3 million. So 5-year performance times 3 million would be 15 million. So I might set that as my max. You determine what's good for you. And the last thing is then I'm looking at that KO and CO, because I'm definitely reaching out to them. If you don't know this, KO is contracting officer in DOD, CO is contracting officer in the civilian side. CO in the military is commanding officer. So being a military guy, I get that. But for a lot of us, sometimes we get confused. I just call them all KOs now. Just it's easier. Okay, so let me pop over to the slides, to FPDS and show you. By the way, this is GovCon in a Box homepage. Very straightforward to get you where you need to be. But number 2 here, get your visibility score. You just have to put it in and you're good to go. Okay, so let me close that guy. Let me just start here on the homepage for 1 second. Let me hit refresh. So I start from scratch. You can see it. This is the Federal Procurement Data System. If you're more experienced with this, just hold on. I'll give you some extra tips, but I want to make sure everybody's coming along. Here's my first tip to you, right? The training and the help. Click on this stuff and take a look at it. If I click on help, it opens up this new tab, and I can look at all this stuff. I can begin to understand what's an IDV, an indefinite delivery vehicle, right? Contract vehicles. I can learn about those. I can see how they talk about them. I can see the types they have that are in there, right? So if you're learning, come back constantly. Down here, I can look at the FAQs, which is the part I like, right? I just go in there and go, have you updated the FAQs recently? There's all sorts of other material you can get. Like if you go into the training, they don't have training at the moment. Maybe I need to do the training for you. But anyways, come in here. There's all sorts of stuff you can learn. And then also I have this here, and I don't know if somebody can grab this for me really quick and put it in, because this was updated in August 19th of 2024. So it's a brand new version of the FPDS Data Element Dictionary. And keep that in mind. So that search term, if somebody can put that into the chat for me, and or if you're kind enough, you can actually find the PDF link and put it in there. But that link is a great link for you to go see. Actually, sorry, let me come back. If I come down here, I can see and learn about the tool, right? I'm learning about, let me see something. So entity information as an example, right? Say I didn't know anything about unique ID. Here it tells me the unique ID is the ID about the company and blah, blah, blah. Well, every single field that you would be looking at in FPDS is there. That's how you begin to become an expert. Just have the manual, read it, and look back and forth and practice. Okay, so let me show you how I go in and find the money. I'm just going to hit enter. This search tab is pretty useless for beginners, so the fastest thing to do is to just hit enter. In here, so all of this stuff is junk that it's looking at, but I'm going to do an advanced search. And let me zoom in a teeny bit, and I'm going to do a new search. And I know my fields to a degree, so I'm going to accelerate that part. But the first thing I want to see is I want to limit the search to a certain period of performance. So let's say October. Oh, this is perfect. So October 1st, 2022. So fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 2024. So basically this is about 18 months, even though it comes to August, right? And so that's date signed. The next one I want to do, do I hit add here? The next one I want to do is description. So right here is a field called description. And inside the description, I'm hoping it has recruiting. These are pretty much all I need to search at the moment. Let me zoom out. So you can see I just got 865 results related to recruiting. I'm a big fan of searching on keywords and beginning there. This is why I tell you in the visibility score, make sure you understand the keywords your government buyer is using and then get them in SAM and DSBS, or in DSBS in particular, in there. Okay, so my next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sort by action obligation. And if you can't see it, you come in here and look at this later, but you do have this ability. Come on. You do have this ability over here to sort by all these fields. And so you want to pay attention to the sort order, A through Z, or in this case, Z through A. And what I'm sorting is, I'm just sorting by action obligation. Why not start with the biggest dollar volume and go from there, right? So now I'm looking right away. I see $100 million opportunity. I'm like, well, that's not for me. The other thing I noticed is I did recruiting, and I noticed that the NAICS code is for advertising. And so if I just take a second and click View, and I come down here. Remember, the first thing I do is I come down here. So I typed recruiting, but here, what this is, and I'm guessing, I don't have the PWS, but I'm guessing that what this is the Marine Corps paying somebody to do social media ads to 18-year-olds to try to recruit them in, right? So somebody is doing the social media ad, Gary Vaynerchuk or something like that, right? I know actually we have multiple companies who do this, and I hope they're in the training, because this is the type of area I would go. This is the kind of stuff that, even though it went to a large probably, and let me just confirm it right here. So right in here, I'm able to see that this went to, holy smokes, this went to a foreign-owned company. Come on, Marine Corps. So I would be digging into that if I was an advertisement company, but I don't want to digress. Okay, so let me come back to, let me go back. Let me zoom out. And let me sort the action obligation again. And we're back here where we started. So that was just a big one, but I was able to see, I'm like, okay, recruiting is going to get me this advertisement. So any of these big ones are advertising. And I'm pretty much ignoring where the NAICS is advertisement. The NAICS code is advertisement. So here, I'm going to come to this one. And actually, for the fun of it, I'm just going to go to the next one because I already looked at that. So I'd rather look at one brand new. I'm going to click on this one. $15 million is what I saw there. First thing I do is I scroll to the bottom to go, is this the type of work I do? So I'm going to expand this. I'm going to go like this. To provide a contractor with experience in recruiting and retaining qualified professionals capable of providing technical operations support needed for a myriad of support services. Wow, that is a really convoluted description. I'm assuming what they want is a recruiting staffing firm who can help the government hire professionals. That's what I assume it is. I would go do more research, but I like this for the moment. From a recruiting standpoint, I'm like, I think that fits. So now I'm just going to pop down for a second. So here I can see that there's 9 awards and or 9 offers, and that's for, it looks like for a contract vehicle, right? IDF or IDV is the indefinite vehicle. And so I would look at that and I begin to explore it. But I come up here and I see it's a small business set aside, right? As a small business recruiting staffing firm, these are things I'm looking for. So I'm liking it so far. I like the fact that it was a recruiting type job, small business. It had multiple offers in there, which means they were open to competition. I'm assuming when I see that, it might even have awarded it multiple. I didn't look at it really quick. So now I said the next thing I look for is NAICS codes. I just want to make sure I'm tracking the PSC and the principal NAICS code, or the NAICS code used. So those align, those are good. Now I'm going to come up and say, well, let's see what kind of work this is, right? First off, this is an 8A participant. That's good news for those 8A firms that I'm supporting. But as I come up, this is what I'm looking for here. $77 million ceiling, right? $15 million base and $77 million. So that's the value I'm looking for. I don't need to go crazy, but I'm looking at that thing going, okay, that's 15 million. Now, I don't know if that's 15 million for multiple holders or like a ceiling or not. I can dig more into that. But over here, I'm looking at the expiration date. I'm like, oh man, I'm just missing this. And this one's really curious because, you know, they must have awarded this before, but maybe they didn't. Maybe they did an extension where this goes 6 more months and I still have room. And so now I'm looking at who's this with, and I can see this is at State Department, right? And I don't dig much further into it, Bureau of Consular Affairs. Oh, that's interesting. Now that I see that, by the way. Oh, no, this is a different one. Okay, so I'm tracking this kind of stuff. And the last one is I'll look at this ID, right? And I'll see what's going on. If you haven't seen me do this before, I'll just show you very quickly. I will take this company, for example, and go to USA Spending. Come on. I'm on a time crunch here. I will come back to this company, put it into recipient, and you can watch this later and see it. But what I want to do is get in and see what they've been winning. Come on, I'm on a time crunch here, USA Spending. Okay, so I went and searched for it. Now I found the company, and I can see they're doing 1.7 million, right? That instantly tells me that 15 million, something's off, which is fine, but something's a little odd on that. For the fun of it, I'm just going to trail the fiscal years. So they've been doing $121 million. This is a company worth me learning from. Except for this is kind of a challenging state, right? Looks like they've come down. They're doing okay on revenue, $15 million. And then it kind of slid off a little bit. So this is a company it's worth me talking to, right? I can learn from them. I can engage. But I can also see, where is it? Right here, view the awards from this recipient. So if I come back here, I can see all these awards they've won, and they're all in the millions. And as a small business trying to get staffing companies, this is the stuff I'm looking for. Maybe these guys have graduated small or 8A, and I might be able to team with them. And that's what I mean by searching for folks who are out there. So let me come back in here and just talk one more time about some of the data you see, right? This is an exercise of an option. And up here, you see this modification. I would begin to chase this stuff down, begin to figure out where was that original contract. I would go out and try to find the opportunity. The last thing I'll show you is this is a perfect example because sometimes up here is the acquisition folks over on the right-hand side. And the approved by is the contract officer. Sometimes it's really obvious. The person's name is John Smith at State Department. You're like, okay, I know who it is. This one, it's much harder, right? And so for me, I would grab this person. If I'm trying to figure out, well, who is that? How do I get their information? I would just come back to this WT State Department. And who knows if it's going to work when I do this. Principal officer at an embassy in Japan. That was Gary Schaefer. Charista. This is an ambassador. I should put down contracting. Let me try that. So that's funny. Schaefer Services getting a thing. So here you go. William Ted W.T. Schaefer at the Office of Acquisition Management, contracting officer. I don't know if you can see it. It took me a couple of tries, but right away I'm able to find the contracting officer, right? And this is in a paid service, hire gov, but I don't need that. Now I can go look for that person's name and try to follow it down. In fact, Ted Schaefer. Let me try that really quick. Ted Schaefer. What was that? Chaeffer State. What I'm looking for is, can I get it? Oh, something else. I wonder if Ted, if they're out there. So this is Penn State. Now it's back to Hire Gov. Sometimes you can go into places like Hire Gov and quickly get it. I don't know if I can. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so now I got his email and his phone number. So sometimes Hire Gov lets you come in for one or two shots, and then they say, no, you got to pay us. But look at that. In 2 seconds from FPDS, I was able to find an opportunity that looks interesting. Now, I'm finding this a little late, so I should have found this 6-12 months ago, but that was the first one I clicked on at 800. Imagine me doing this over and over again. I'll be able to find the opportunities I need to win. Here's what I want you to remember from today's training. First off, FPDS is a skill. You have to make the commitment to understand the fields and the data. Use that guide that I had and begin to get an understanding of it and practice 15 minutes every day. First 15 minutes of your day, say, I'm doing FPDS. Before my day gets away from me, I'm going to do FPDS. I'm going to go in and search. I'm going to learn what's this section, what's this section. I use that all the time, but not so much that I'm as much of an expert as you will be in a couple of weeks, because I do all sorts of things. But if you're able to focus down on FPDS to help you fill your pipeline, you're going to have the success. So I hope you found that helpful. Put FPDS in the rock, or FPDS rocks in the chat if you did. Something I just want to let you know about on September 9th, so not next week, but the one after it, we're doing a SIBR week. We're going to be talking with DOD leaders, Army, Navy, DARPA, military defense, and I don't know who Navy. I feel like that one's not quite right, but we've got 5 DOD folks coming in talking about the $4 billion in innovation dollars that are out there I'm going to try to ask them a lot of questions. It's a fireside chat, not a presentation. So come in. I'll be asking questions that I think you'll value. I'd love to see you in there. As you move through your day, your weekend, and into next week, just remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. I will see you in the next training.